She handed me my son's report card across a small desk in a room decorated with children's drawings. She was 29 years old. I was 47. And for exactly 4 seconds, neither of us said anything. Not because the grades were bad, because the air in that room had changed and is something neither of us was prepared to name. I need you to stay with me on this one, because this story is not what you think it is in the first minute. This is not a story about a man who fell for a younger woman and called it love. This is a story about two people who tried very hard for a very long time to do the right thing, and what it cost them before they finally stopped fighting. Welcome back to Hearthside Tales, where the stories we tell aren't always the ones people expect, but they're always the ones that stay with you. My name is Daniel Mary. At 47, I was a widower, a civil engineer, and the father of one 9-year-old boy named Marcus, the kind of kid who collected facts about volcanoes the way other kids collected trading cards. My wife, Claire, had passed 3 years before. Pancreatic cancer, 11 months from diagnosis to funeral. I'm not going to tell you I was fine by the time this story begins. I was functional. That is different. Functional means you pack his lunch. You sign the permission slips. You attend the parent-teacher conferences because your son deserves a father who shows up even when showing up costs you something. So when Marcus's school sent home a note that his new third-grade teacher wanted a one-on-one meeting, not a general conference, a specific one, about Marcus specifically, I closed my laptop at 5 p.m. on a Thursday, drove to Riverside Elementary, and walked into room 14. She was standing with her back to me, writing something on a whiteboard. Her name, I learned in 1 second, was Nadia Mensah. She turned around when I knocked on the open door. Brown eyes, natural hair pinned up, a yellow cardigan that looked like it belonged to a warmer decade. She smiled professionally. "Mr. Mary, thank you for coming." "Of course," I said, and sat in the chair she gestured to. The chair was meant for a parent. It was also meant for a child. I was 6'1". She noticed. "I'm sorry," she said, pressing her lips together. "The other chair is... I've sat in worse." She smiled for half a second. Not the professional one. Then she picked up Marcus's folder, and we got to work. Here is what she told me about my son. Marcus was advanced. Deeply. Not in the way schools reward. No speed tests or spelling bees, but in the way that worried a good teacher. He asked questions that had no answer in the third-grade curriculum. He had started skipping ahead in his workbook and writing notes to himself in the margins. He was quiet in group work, but not shy, observant. And twice in the past month, he had started crying unexpectedly and refused to explain why. "He holds things," she said carefully. I looked at the folder. His mother died 3 years ago. The room went soft. "I know," she said. "I read his file. I just wanted you to know that I see it. Not as a problem, as something that deserves attention." I looked up at her then. This woman, this 29-year-old woman with student artwork on her walls and a yellow cardigan, had just said the thing that 3 different school counselors, 2 family members, and 1 grief therapist had danced around for years. She said, "I see it." Not "we'll monitor him." Not "he may benefit from a referral." She said "I see it," like it was something a child deserved to hear. I don't know what my face did in that moment, but I know she looked away first. "I have some strategies I want to try with him," she said. "I just wanted you aligned." "Thank you," I said. And then, because it was the truest thing I'd thought all week, "You're very good at this." She blinked. "I love this job," she said simply. And that was the meeting. 6 minutes. I drove home, made dinner, helped Marcus with his volcano diagram, put him to bed, and sat in my kitchen for a long time afterward doing absolutely nothing. If you're watching Hearthside Tales for the first time right now, this is the kind of story we tell here. Not clean love stories. Human ones. Hit that subscribe button now, because we're just getting started, and I promise you, This one is going to surprise you at least twice. The second time I saw her was accidental. 3 weeks after the conference, I stopped at the farmer's market 2 blocks from the school on a Saturday morning. I was buying tomatoes. She was arguing with a man selling overpriced candles about whether bergamot counted as a real scent. I heard her before I saw her. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm saying it's been overused to the point of meaninglessness. Like calling something artisanal. The candle man looked personally injured. I turned around. She was in a yellow dress. This woman had a color, clearly, with a canvas bag over one shoulder and absolutely no awareness that I was 5 feet away. I could have kept walking. I should have. Instead, I said, "Marcus's teacher." She spun around, blinked, then smiled, the non-professional one again. "Marcus's dad. You're still on the bergamot thing?" "I'm always on the bergamot thing." I bought tomatoes. She bought 2 candles, not bergamot, and a bunch of sunflowers. We walked toward the parking lot from different directions and arrived at the exit at the same time. "He's doing better," she said suddenly. "Marcus, I wanted you to know. He told the class a fact about Kilauea last week, and the other kids were actually impressed." I felt something loosen in my chest. He talked about that for 3 days. Good. We stopped walking. There was a pause, not the awkward kind. The kind that happens when a conversation is done, but neither person has moved yet. "Thank you," I said, "for watching in the way you do." She held the sunflowers against her side. "He makes it easy." I went home. She went wherever she went. And I told myself, firmly and specifically, that the warmth I felt at a farmer's market on a Saturday morning was simply gratitude. That was the lie I told myself for the next 4 months. Welcome back to Hearthside Tales, where we don't skip the complicated parts. Here's the thing about rules. We build them for good reasons. A father does not think about his son's teacher that way. A teacher does not think about a student's parent that way. These are not arbitrary restrictions. They exist because children are in the middle, because power is uneven, because some lines are drawn to protect the people who can't protect themselves. I knew all of this, which is why, for 4 months, I was extremely, aggressively, professionally appropriate. Parent-teacher check-ins, attended, always brief, always with the door open. Marcus's progress reports, read and signed. No extra questions. School events, attended, smiled, thanked her, left. I was very good at this. And then the winter concert happened. Marcus had a speaking part, 2 lines about the history of winter celebrations across cultures. Because of course my son had found the one school event that involved research. I sat in the 3rd row. She stood at the side of the stage, managing the chaos of 40 children who had been given costumes and opinions about those costumes. Marcus walked to the microphone. He was nervous. I could tell by the way he was counting the tiles on the floor. She caught my eye from the side of the stage. Then she looked at Marcus, then at me, and without saying anything, she gave me a small nod. "He's okay. I've got him." Marcus delivered his lines. The audience clapped. He found my face in the crowd and grinned the grin that still looked like Claire's. Afterward, in the hallway, while parents swirled around collecting coats and children, she appeared beside me. "He was great. I said. "He practiced those lines 11 times at lunch this week." I looked at her. "You let him use lunch?" "He asked very formally," she said. "He made a proposal. With bullet points." I laughed. "A proper one." She laughed too. And then we were 2 people standing in a school hallway laughing about a 9-year-old's bullet-pointed proposal. And neither of us was being professional about the way this felt. She caught it first. Her smile softened. Then she straightened slightly. "He's a really special kid, Mr. Mary." And just like that, the boundary was reestablished. By her, not me. I drove home that night with the distinct feeling that I was not the only one fighting something. This is the part of the story I need you to stay for, because here's where it gets complicated in ways most love stories skip over. 3 weeks after the winter concert, she handed in her resignation. I didn't know this yet. Marcus didn't know this yet. Nobody told us. What I did know was that Marcus had stopped eating breakfast. Small thing, maybe nothing, but I noticed. He wasn't sad exactly, more like preoccupied, like he was working through something inside his head that hadn't found words yet. I waited 4 days before asking. We were doing dishes. He washed. I dried. Our old system from when he was small enough that helping felt like play. Is something going on at school? I asked. He handed me a bowl. Miss Mensa is leaving. Everything in my chest went still. What do you mean leaving? She told us today. After Christmas, she's going to a different school. He said it quietly. The way children report facts they haven't finished processing. Did she say why? She said she got an opportunity. He handed me another bowl. I don't want a different teacher, he said. Not dramatically. This is a fact. I know, I said. I dried that bowl for longer than it needed. I did not call the school. I did not email her. I did not ask questions I had no right to ask. Instead, I signed up for the last parent volunteer morning of the semester, a holiday craft session that needed 3 extra adults to manage glitter and hot glue guns. I was not a man who did holiday crafts. I was absolutely at that school on a Tuesday morning. She saw me from across the classroom. She did not look surprised. She looked something more complicated. After the session, when the other parents had gathered their things, she asked me to stay for a moment. The children went to lunch. The room went quiet. She sat on the edge of her desk. I stood near the door, deliberately near the door. Marcus told you, she said. He did. I wanted to tell you myself. I didn't know how to without it being. She stopped. Inappropriate. I offered. She looked at me. Strange. I let that sit. Can I ask why? She was quiet for a moment. Then, because I'm not managing something very well, Mr. Mary. And the professional thing to do when you're not managing something well in a classroom is to remove yourself from the situation before the situation removes you. I understood immediately. I wished I didn't. Nadia, I said. First time. Her name. She looked up. I've spent 4 months managing the same thing, I said carefully. I thought I was the only one. The room was very still. You're not, she said quietly. We stood there in that classroom with children's drawings on every wall and distance between us that was 3 feet wide and felt like an ethics question with no clean answer. I don't know what to do with this, I said. Honest. Fully. Neither do I, she said. That's why I'm leaving. And here's where I need to stop for just a second, because this is the moment that makes this story what it is. She was leaving to protect my son, not because she didn't feel what she felt, but because she did. That is not a small thing. That is someone choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. And if you've ever watched someone you cared about make a decision that was good and painful at the same time, then you already know what the next few months feel like. This is Hearthfelt Tales, and we're right in the middle of the hardest part. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is a good moment to do it, because what happens next requires you to be here. January came. A new teacher took over room 14. Marcus adapted the way resilient children adapt, quietly, with more internal processing than anyone wanted to see. I did not reach out to her. I told myself this was respect. I told myself this was the right thing. I spent February and most of March believing this. Then, in April, I ran into her father, not deliberately, at a fundraising dinner for an engineering scholarship at the university, the kind of event I attended twice a year and barely remembered. He was a retired professor. We sat at the same table. We talked about infrastructure and education for 20 minutes before he mentioned his daughter, the teacher. She just changed schools, he said. She's at Westfield Academy now. Much longer commute, but she says it's worth it. I nodded. She's stubborn like that, he said. Makes decisions for complicated reasons and then refuses to explain them to anyone. He said it warmly, the way fathers speak about daughters they've decoded partially but never fully. Takes after her mother. I smiled. She was an excellent teacher for my son. He looked at me then, the way older people look when they've understood something since late. Mary, he said. Daniel Mary. Yes. He smiled into his wine glass. She mentioned you. That sentence hit somewhere deep and said nothing specific and told me everything. I'm going to be honest with you right now, because this is heartfelt tales and we don't do dishonest here. I went home from that dinner and sat in the dark for an hour, because here was the situation. She had left. Cleanly. Ethically. With all the right reasons. Marcus was in a different classroom now, no longer her student. There was no professional conflict. There was just a 47-year-old man who was afraid. Not afraid of her age. Not afraid of what people would say. I was too old for that fear. Afraid of what it would mean to let someone in again after you've already done the hardest kind of losing. Claire had been my person for 16 years. And the thought of handing something fragile to another person, of trusting the universe with something valuable again, sat in my chest like a stone I'd been quietly carrying. That, not the rules, was what had been holding me back. I called her. Not that night. 3 days later, after I'd thought about it long enough to be sure I wasn't calling from loneliness or the echo of her father's knowing smile. She answered on the third ring. Mr. Mary. Daniel, I said. A pause. Daniel, she repeated. Your father told me you mentioned me. My father has no concept of the word private. He seems like a wise man. He is an absolute menace. But she was smiling. I could hear it. Marcus isn't your student anymore, I said. I know. I've spent 4 months making sure I was thinking clearly and not just reacting to a feeling. And I'm still thinking clearly, and I still have the feeling. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I left that school because of you, Daniel. I need you to know that wasn't easy. I know, I said. That's one of the reasons I'm calling. What are the others? You argued with a man about bergamot for 4 minutes, and I thought it was the most interesting thing I'd seen all year. She laughed, bright and real. That man was wrong. He was completely wrong. Another pause, but this one was the warm kind. There are things that make this complicated, she said. I know every one of them. I said, I've been listing them for months. Would you like to discuss them over coffee, or should we just stand here listing them indefinitely? Coffee, she said. Saturday. Saturday was nothing like a first date. It was too honest for that. We sat in a small place with wide windows, and she said, before we even had drinks, I need you to know that I'm not someone who needs rescuing. I'm not interested in being someone's second chapter if that chapter is just about healing. I'm not interested in healing, I said. She waited. I'm interested in you. Whatever that looks like. Complicated, slow, inconvenient. I've been alive long enough to know that the things worth having are usually all three. She looked at me for a long time. You have a son, she said. That is not a footnote. That's the whole story. He is, I agreed. I would need to know him differently. Not as his teacher. As a person who matters to someone who matters to you. He would like that, I said. And then, because it was completely true, he made a proposal with bullet points about a class presentation. He would absolutely have opinions about you and me. She smiled slowly. What kind of opinions? Positive ones. He told me last year that you were the best teacher he'd ever had. He has 3 data points, but he's confident. That's a lot of confidence. He gets it from somewhere. Her mouth curved. She picked up her coffee. This is strange, she said. Yes. The age gap is real. 18 years, I said. I know. People will have opinions. I'm 47 years old, Nadia. I have made peace with the fact that people have opinions about everything. She looked at me across that table. This woman who had left a job she loved for the right reasons, who had told a 9-year-old boy, "I see it," before she knew his father's face, who argued about candles at farmers markets with complete conviction. "Okay," she said. "Just that. Okay." The first 3 months were quiet. We moved slowly, deliberately, not because the feeling wasn't there. But because we were both adults who had learned, in different ways, that rushing past the important parts always costs you later. She met Marcus officially in June, 2 months in, not as his teacher, as the woman who showed up at our kitchen door on a Saturday morning with 2 bags of groceries and a very specific theory about the correct ratio of cheese to egg in a frittata. Marcus opened the door. She said, "Hi, I'm Nadia. I used to be your teacher. Now I'm making breakfast. Is that okay?" He looked at the bags, then at her, then at me. "Do you know how to make a goosey soup?" he asked. "I do," she said. "My mom used to make it," he said. The whole world went quiet for a second. Nadia looked at him with steady eyes. "Will you show me how your mom made it?" she asked. "I want to make it right." Marcus thought about this for a very long time. Then he stepped back from the door and said, "Come in. I need to tell you something honestly right now." That moment, that exact moment, was when I knew, not because it was romantic, because it was brave. She didn't pretend Claire wasn't real. She didn't try to fill a space that didn't need filling. She asked to learn the recipe. She handed Marcus the belonging. That is not a small thing. That is someone understanding that love doesn't erase history. It just makes more room. This is Hearthside Tales. And if this story is landing for you, this is the moment to share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. The next year was not a movie. There were difficult dinners with my sister, who looked at Nadia like an algebra problem she hadn't agreed to solve. There were parents at the school who heard the story secondhand and had opinions assembled from partial facts. There was one specific dinner party where a man I'd known for 15 years leaned over to me and said, with wine confidence, "Isn't she a bit young for you, Dan?" I said, "Isn't that question a bit small for a person your age?" That ended the conversation. Nadia heard about it later and said, "You didn't have to do that." "I know," I said. "I wanted to." She looked at me. "You can't defend me every time someone is stupid." "I disagree about the can't," I said. "But I take your point about the every time." She shook her head, but she was smiling. That was us. Exactly. 18 months after that first coffee, on a Friday evening in October, I came home from a site visit to find Marcus sitting at the kitchen table doing homework and Nadia at the stove, and the radio playing something too old for either of them, and the kitchen smelling like egusi soup and whatever she'd done to the rice that I'd never learned to replicate. Marcus looked up when I came in. "You're late," he said. "Traffic," I said. "Nadia said if you weren't here by 7, we were starting without you." I looked at her. She was not looking at me. She was stirring. "That sounds like a reasonable policy," I said. "It is," Marcus confirmed. "I helped make the soup. Did you use the right amount of crayfish?" "I used Grandma Mary's amount," he said. Which Nadia says is technically too much, but she's not going to argue with Grandma Mary. I set my bag down, took off my jacket, and stood for a moment in my own kitchen, in the ordinary wreckage of a regular Friday evening, feeling something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Not healed, not replaced, full. I proposed in that kitchen, not on a weekend plan in advance, not with reservations, not with an audience. I proposed at 7:15 on a Tuesday night when Marcus was at my sister's, and Nadia had shown up unexpectedly with a broken umbrella and takeout because it was raining and she hadn't wanted to cook. We were eating dumplings on the kitchen counter. She said something I don't remember now, something small and specific about a difficult student, and she made that face she makes when she's frustrated but still finds the situation funny. And I thought, I want to watch this face for the rest of my life. So I stopped eating, and she looked at me. "What?" she said. "I love you," I said. I want to marry you." She put down her chopsticks. "That's not a question," she said. "I know, Daniel. I know what I'm asking. I've been thinking about it for 4 months." "You've been thinking about proposing for 4 months, and you're doing it with takeout containers?" "Yes." She looked at me for a very long time. "There's no ring. I know what kind of ring you want. I don't want you to say yes because of a ring." Her eyes went bright. "You know what kind of ring I want," she said softly. "Round cut. Simple band. Nothing that catches on things." "That's very specific. You mentioned it once. 9 months ago." I remembered. She was quiet. Then she leaned forward across the takeout containers and kissed me. When she pulled back, she said, "Yes." Then she pointed at the takeout containers. "We are never telling anyone this story. We are absolutely telling Marcus. He will find it hilarious. That's why we're telling him." Marcus found it hilarious. He also, "In a moment I will carry for the rest of my life," said to Nadia very seriously. "You're sure? Because if you change your mind, it's going to be weird." She said, "I'm sure." He thought about it. "Okay," he said, "but you have to make the egusi soup at the wedding." She made the egusi soup at the wedding. My sister cried for the whole second half. The man who asked if she was too young for me at the dinner party was not invited. And here is where I want to leave you tonight, because this is the part Hearthfelt Tales lives for. Not the wedding, not the ring, not the happy ending in its final photo version. The moment in a school hallway after a winter concert when 2 people stood 2 feet apart and both chose, quietly, not to be reckless with something that belonged to a child. The moment she handed in her resignation to protect a boy she'd known for 1 semester. The moment Marcus stepped back from the door and said, "Come in." Those moments are not romantic in the obvious way. There are no violins. Nobody runs through rain. But those are the moments that actually mean something. The ones that show you what someone is made of before they ever have to say "I love you." The world is full of people who feel things. The rare ones are the people who feel things and still choose carefully. And if you're watching this tonight, wondering if the complicated thing you're feeling is worth the complicated cost, I'm not going to tell you what to decide, but I will tell you this. The right things usually ask something of you first. And the people who are worth it, they know that too. This has been Hearthfelt Tales. If this story found you tonight, leave a comment below and tell me. Have you ever had to walk away from something to figure out if it was actually the right thing? We read every single comment here at Hearthfelt Tales. Everyone. And if this story stayed with you, share it. There is someone in your life who needs to hear it tonight. Send it to them. You already know who. Hearthfelt Tales is a place for the stories that don't always get told the clean way. The ones that cost something, the ones that wait, the ones that arrive at the right time in the wrong packaging. If you're new here, welcome. We're very glad you found us. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss a story. The Hearthfelt Tales community is one of the warmest corners of this platform, and you deserve to be part of it. Hit the notification bell too, because some of our stories come out at unexpected moments, and you don't want to miss the one that was made for you. And if you've been here a while, you know what this channel is, you know why we tell these stories, you know that Hearthfelt Tales never rushes an ending. Then stay, because tomorrow we have a story that starts at a funeral and ends at a front porch, and I think it might be the most quietly devastating thing we've ever told. I'll see you there. This is Hearthfelt Tales, and these stories, they belong to you.